everybody. Miranda Madison here. I was watching other lives and I noticed that most of the people that I watch that go live announce who they are every time. So my name is Miranda Madison and I am from Minnesota and I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I thought that I would get on tonight after not being able to do it last week. These projects that I had ready to create have just been sitting here and I still want to share them. So I have the two that I was going to do last week, as well as another one that I actually made and designed on Monday after my new Stampin' Up! Goodies arrived. So I am just getting set up on my hubby's computer here. I thought that if I could figure it out, I would like to be able to look at comments if anyone comes on and joins us today. So I also wanted to talk about a few things Stampin' Up! Related that are happening right now. The first one is that I have a few friends that are on our Stampin' Up! Incentive trip right now on an Alaskan cruise, and so they've been posting lots of goodies and sneak peeks and things about the upcoming holiday catalog, which it's amazing and crazy that we're almost to that time frame where the catalog will be out and we'll be talking about Christmas stuff and Thanksgiving and that sort of things. But they all have their new catalogs in their hand, and we get, as demonstrators, we get to see it August 1st and make our pre-orders then, and then you guys will all get to see those catalogs on September 1st. So if any of you are interested in being on my catalog list, you can either I'm going to send catalogs out to anyone who has made an order in my online Stampin' Up! Store in the last 6 months. Anyone who has made an order in the last 6 months, as soon as I'm able to order catalogs, I will do that and get those out to you. Another thing is that they, while they're on this incentive trip, they always announce where the next one will be. So right now, our Stampin' Up! Earning period goes till the end of September, and it's going towards a trip to Greece. And so that one's super exciting, and I have several friends who have already completed that and have earned that trip. But the next one that begins in October 1st, and it'll go for a year, that we'll have to earn it through different things. There's lots of different things that you can do in our company to earn those trips, but they cover your flight. They cover all of your expenses to while you're with them. So it's the next one is going to be in Maui, Hawaii, and they say it'll be probably on a resort, and so I would love to go to Hawaii, and so they definitely are making it really hard to not want to work really, really hard to get there. So I would love to earn those incentive trips someday, and so what better time to start trying but now. So I thought that I would share those exciting things with you. Another thing that is happening right now in the Stampin' Up! World is that we have a promotion going on for anyone who wants to join my team. Stampin' Up! Is offering an entire family of ink pads for any new demonstrator that joins. The cool thing about Stampin' Up! Is that there's not really any strings attached, and so the most cost-effective, best thing that you can get in our catalog is our starter kit, and you can get the kit and then not do anything with it. And so I love that they don't have, once you get the kit, you have to do this kind of thing. Now you can meet the minimums. Every 3 months we have to have a minimum of $300 if we want to continue getting our discount and continue being a demonstrator, but we don't have to. It's not like we're trapped into that. And so, excuse me, my nose is running tonight. And so I'm very thankful that it's so free to have something so so fun, and just to be able to get the discount is an exciting thing for me. And so I'm gonna see if it shows. I don't know if they have a picture in the catalog. I don't think they do. So you pay $99, but you get to choose $125 worth of product of your choice out of the catalog. So I do have a little flyer that I could send if anybody's curious just what they should put in their starter kit. But you can put anything that you would use in those starter kits. And so I love that it's not something that they just send to you what they want or what they think that you should have in order to become a demonstrator, but you get to choose what you want. And if you want to stay to become a demonstrator, then you can. If you don't, then there's no pressure at all from anybody. So on top of that $125 worth of product, they are offering until the end of July that you get to choose one color family. So I'm going to flip over to that page just to show you how many ink choices you would be able to choose from. So the color families are, you could choose from the current in colors. So these are the brand new ink colors, in colors, and then these are the ones that we have one more year with them. So these are 10 different colors that you could get. So that is your first option. The next option would be the neutral colors, and those are those colors there. Now my words are probably going to be backwards for you, and I still have not figured out how to change that. So I'm still working on that. So the next set of 10 are the Brights collection, and this one would probably be my favorite as far as the collections as a whole. I think I have the most of the Brights in my collection, and I use them more often. They have a lot of my favorites in them. So between the Brights and the Regals, which will be after this, the next one is the Subtles, and there's so many new ones. My little stars are next to the ones that I have. And so then the Regals are the last set of 10. So if you were to want to join my team and become a member of my team, you would not only get the $125 worth of product of your choice, but you would also get to receive one of those color families. So that's 10 inks on top of the other stuff that you would be able to choose for only $99. And so that is the best deal I think that they have had since I started. So I just didn't want this night to go by without me sharing that really super amazing deal that they still have going on for just a little bit longer in the month of July. So lots of exciting things happening. And so in August, I will be able to share a bundle that is out with you. I don't have it yet. It's not something that I gravitate towards, and because I'm trying to save a little bit money, I have not ordered it, but I will be able to share it with you as soon as August comes and share. It'll only be available for a month, and it has a little bit of everything in it, so you can use it for spring or summer or fall or winter. So it is an all-season stamp set. And framelits that are really super cool. And I wish that I could get it with just the framelits because that's how awesome they are. So I may just have to get it just so that I can get the framelits, because I know that they're definitely some that I would use pretty regularly. So if all of you are hanging out with me, I'm gonna take a little bit of sip of my coffee. I think we've chatted a little bit enough to let people come in, and we will get started on some of our projects tonight. So I did want to share, I'm not sure if my mom is going to watch this or not, but I made a scrapbook layout that I'm kind of going to surprise her with. I'm not sure if you are here with us tonight, you can say hello. And I love to hear who's with us. And we can chat it up with each other. My computer is on and working, so if anyone has any questions about any of the product that we're working with tonight, I'm going to try really hard this week to get the details of these cards and what I'm using on my blog as well as on YouTube. This summer has been so difficult for me, having my kids home, and I've had a little bit extra kids, hi Lynn, at my house this summer, and so trying to find all those little bits of time that I'm not needed have been a lot more difficult than I thought they would be. So the fact that I'm even here right now is a miracle because of how this summer I've been needed a lot more than in the summertime or in the school year when they are tired. First of all, they're a lot more tired in school year. And hello, Lynn and Lynn. Good to have you both. Hopefully I will get those on this week. If not, I'm just going to try really hard to get them on as soon as I can. So if it's not in this week, if anybody has any questions about what I'm using or the products themselves, then you can just send me a message and I'll just try to answer that when I can get to it. But I'm super excited about the cards specifically that we're going to work with tonight. But I thought I would give a little bit of a sneak peek at a couple that I worked on this week. I have one sitting back here. I got to play with the envelope punch board. I made a bridal shower card, and I don't think I took any pictures of it, so I'll have to make another one. But I did try out this one, and this one opens just a typical A2 card, and then I actually created an envelope that I thought I would share. So this is just a little bow tied to hold the flap down, but inside of here has some of that designer series paper that I used on this circle, and I can write a little note on it, but this little pocket is actually created for a gift card specifically. So I just made a little bit of a bow that I could tie that holds that little flap down, and then when they open the card, not only can I write on the inside of the card, but the little gift card can go in this little envelope. So that is one that I made last night. So that is one. The other one that I made for the bridal shower was a little bit bigger, and so it would not fit in a normal A2 size envelope, which is the 5.5 by 4.25. So let me see. I've already completed my scrapbook layout for this coming Friday for our team. So I don't think my mom is here, but I'm going to make something similar like this for her house. This is my parents and all 10 of their grandbabies. And I have, this is just a normal 12 by 12 layout. And what I've done is I wanted to use 3 different colors for my scrapbooking challenge this week. And so the 3 different colors that I chose are Bermuda Bay, Calypso Coral, and the Mint Macaron. So what I did on these little puzzle pieces is I put all of the kids' names and their year that they were born. So my kiddos are the 2 big ones here, and then the big one on the end over here. And so they're here, and let me think, here. So they're in the older set of grandchildren, but this is actually a picture that was taken in my backyard just a few weeks ago when all of my family was here visiting. And so when I was creating my layout, those puzzle pieces came to mind, and I just thought, I know just what I'm going to do with those. What a fun way to use those little puzzle pieces framelits that we have in our catalog. And actually, I thought I would show you the cool framelits that come in that bundle also. They come with not only these little pieces. This is the one that I used for their names. And then this one works actually with one of the stamps in the set too. But it is such a fun thing that you can cut them out and then really piece them together. So I really, really love this set, the Puzzle Pieces Thinlits. So I'm sorry that it's all back to front, but this is the stamp set that goes with it. So that heart fits with this one. And then I actually used these two pieces with that layout as well. So I have shown that layout to a couple of my sisters, and talked about what different color choices that Mom might want in her layout, and maybe have a frame for it. So that should be really, really fun. But I think I have everything ready, close to being ready in front of me here. So I'm going to flip you around. So I'm going to cover us up really, really fast, and then we'll be back when I have it on my mount. Okay. So I kind of sort of practiced this. So yeah, I'm sorry if I'm flipping you all kinds of dizzy. Oh my goodness. And then you get to see my ceiling. Okay. So you'll get to see a little bit of colors that we're going to work with. And those are actually the cards that we're going to make. And so I'm going to flip us down just a little bit. And hopefully I'm not making you super, super dizzy. So what I have done is I've pre-cut out all of the main pieces. There are a few things that we'll have to work out to cut in these, but for the most part, I have a lot of the hard part taken care of. So I thought I would do as much as I could to get us through the 3 cards quickly tonight. So hopefully I'm not losing all kinds of pieces, and that after a week I remember what I did to put them together. So what's everybody up to tonight? Now that I can halfway see on my computer over here what is going on. So I'm going to sip on my coffee a little bit. I did not get out my Stampin' Blends yet for this. So these are the colors that we're going to work with. And actually this designer series paper we're going to use twice. It is so super versatile, and I love that. It is probably because of the thickness of this cardstock or this designer series paper. I think it is probably one of my favorites that Stampin' Up! Carries right now. And so it is the Share What You Love specialty designer series paper. And some of the pieces have that really cool, it is called pearlization, I think is what they called it. But it is beautiful. And the colors that they use in that set are so beautiful. And so I thought that they were perfect for this little baby card that we're going to work on tonight. So what I have done is I have done a mint macaron card base, and then it actually has another layer that we have embossed with, I think it's just called flower petals, but I'm going to double check. I put my catalog right next to me so that we could, Petal Burst. So this is the Petal Burst embossing folder, and I have used this one probably more than most of my embossing folders. I just think that it could look like fallen leaves, it could look like petals, but it just has such a fun texture to it that I love it. I love it. So that is going to go on as our first layer. And then I also have this. But before we put all those layers together, I want to work on our little elephant here. I have stamped the elephant, from A Little Wild. And what I did is as you can see with my clear mount stamps, I usually trim them a little bit just to take off a little bit of the edge pieces, excuse me. And I do not add my stickers to the back. So when I stamped this one, I just stamped it on our Whisper White cardstock with our Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. And the card that I have already done, I'm pretty sure, if I can remember which colors I used, it has been a while, and since then I have added a lot of the new blends to my collection. So I have buried the ones that I have used, because this old paper pumpkin box is full of Stampin' Blends, three rows of them. So what I'm gonna do, probably just for time, is I'm gonna take out all of these new ones. These are, I have almost all of the new ones. I think I'm missing three different bundles that they just put out in the new catalog. So I'm going to set these aside over here, and then I can reorganize those later so that I can find what I'm looking for. I used the light Calypso Coral for the ears, and I may have used the dark just for shading, but I don't know that I did, because I think I was trying to match that Grapefruit Grove color a little bit more. But what we're going to do is I'm probably just going to use the light one on that. And then the gray color is Smoky Slate. So I used the Smoky Slate light and dark, and that one's a crumb cake. So we're going to get out the Smoky Slate light and dark. And then I am going to grab our color lifter just in case. You never know when you're going to need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set our little card pieces aside and put down my paper piercer, and I'm going to get a piece of scratch paper to put underneath our mat here. So I'm just going to put this piece of paper under our mat, and I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit if I can figure out how. If it'll work for me. I cannot remember. Nope, it's not going to work. All right. So we're just going to leave it, and then hopefully I can lift things up. I'm sorry if that's shaking you all over the place. So what we're going to do first is color with our light Calypso Coral. And I typically like to use the brush tip when I'm coloring. I find that the brush tip is a lot more smooth. And so we're going to color right now both the flower that I colored with Calypso Coral, the light Calypso Coral Stampin' Blends, as well as I tried it a couple different ways, and there I did. I am going to need my color lifter after all. Because I like to use the brush tip, it is not quite as forgiving as the pointy, the fine tip on the end. And so it's a little bit of a sacrifice that you make. But when I was testing out this card here, I started off by using a yellow center. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I started out using a yellow center and wasn't really a fan of how it looked with the rest of the card. So what I did was I used the Smoky Slate over the top of it. And so I remember what I did with this. It looked like I had used both the dark Calypso Coral and the light Calypso Coral, but what I actually did is I used the color lifter to make some shading with this. So I'm going to actually lift up some of the color that I did not mean to do on the bottom here. And then we'll do the gray over the top of it. But as you can see, it doesn't take it all away, but it definitely lightens it up just to smooth out those lines there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my color lifter and create a little bit of a shadow in that little ear there, so you can kind of see a little bit more close up what I'm doing there. So it's nice to have you with us tonight, with me. The last couple weeks I have missed watching Sharon, my kids make Monday evenings not quite as easy as I would like them to be. So I actually even colored the back of our little elephant that'll hang. And so I'm going to use that as my little example. I do a lot of the dark smoky slate shadow on the top here, and then bottom part here, just to show you how I do my shading. So that is where I have decided to put my dark smoky slate on the back, and then I'm gonna blend it in with the light smoky slate the rest of the way. So I'm gonna put the dark smoky slate across there, and a little bit here and here, and then we'll come in the rest on there. I'll put a little bit right there, and maybe a little bit at the top as well. I try really hard. Hi, Kimberly. Nice to have you. So we are making this cute little baby card that I made. And funny story, I made it for the time when our team had the baby card challenge for the theme. And I meant to do it on my Facebook Live last Sunday, and it just was not a good night for me to do that, and we had company, and so my plans all got changed. So I did not want to let it go without sharing, and so sharing those projects that I had worked on for last week. So this is kind of like a take two. So I'm just taking my blends and kind of using them in a circular motion out from the dark into the lighter area. And so I will usually brush over it once or twice just to get that light color started. And then that's when I will put in the circular motion and come out from the dark and into the lighter. So it kind of will pull the shadow into the rest of the card. And so I'm really sorry if it's shaking you a lot. I am trying to figure out how to get my mount in a place that it doesn't affect on the table where I'm at. It won't affect the shakiness of it. But my craft area has kind of been moved quite a bit back and forth recently, and so I feel like I have not found what works best, and so I'm still trying to figure all that out. So one of these days I'll find what works just perfect, and then I won't want to move it at all. So right now, when I need to be in a season of being flexible in order to create, have my creative therapy time, it's just kind of a give and take. So I will take whatever I can get to have my little creative therapy time. So we had a great morning in church today, and I got to help out with my littles. I'm usually in the 3 to 5 room in the classroom. And my oldest daughter, who's 13, went off to church camp in the middle of our 2 services that we have. And so the first service was mostly making sure she had all the things that she needed, and I'd filled out all the right forms, and so our house is going to be very different without her this week. My middle boy was gone all week last week, and we got him back on Friday, and so it's really, really nice having him back, but we are gonna still have a void in our house with my daughter being gone. So after she's back, she'll come back Saturday evening. We will have 1 full week, and then my youngest will take his turn to go to camp. So this is his first time when they go into 3rd grade. It's like a rite of passage with our camp. You get to go to what's called Greenhorn Camp, and that is our 3rd and 4th grade. So one of our elementary school teachers at our church is the dean for camp. So she usually will make them all really, really excited. So everybody wants to be in 3rd grade or 4th grade so that they can go to camp with the big kids. So this has been something that he's been looking forward to since we moved here. And so I'm really excited for him. And so that'll be really exciting. So we are just almost done with our little elephant buddy. And I'm pretty happy with that shading. You have to let it kind of dry a little bit to really see what the color's going to do. And so I think for right now, I'm going to lighten up the middle of the little elephant in the circle motion of her cute little face. And so what I'm going to do, because of my shaky table, I'm going to take my framelits and I'm going to cut them out with my Big Shot on my table behind me here. So I was going to do it beforehand, but that didn't work, and so I did not get to it in time, and so I thought it's not going to matter too much if I just turn around really fast here and cut these out. It'll go fairly quickly. But if you guys want to look at this card really, really fast while I am cutting them out, I will just keep chatting with you. I have a desk. It kind of is in our guest room closet, actually, this desk, or table, more or less. It used to be our dining room table, and then we got a new dining room table from a friend, and we moved this current dining room table into my what is called my craft closet. And so it just tucks right into the closet. We took the doors off of the closet so that we could fit the table all the way in. So it does the trick, and it is not out in the middle of my floor, and so we can still fit a guest bed in this room for when company comes, because there's just something special about being able to have a guest bed at your house. So what I'm gonna do, I cut it a little bit off of the mark. So I'm just gonna trim this little flower to trim some of the white space off of it. And then what we use this tiny flower for anyway is on our little elephant here. And so we made it into a girl elephant, because the whole reason that I wanted to make these baby cards is because we have had, let me count, I think we've had at least 4 new babies be born into our church family in the last 3 months. And I think there might even be a couple of little boys born into that bunch as well. So I'm going to use a glue dot and put that on there to be ready for after I trim up this part. So what I want to do, because when you use the Stampin' Blends, it bleeds through, I thought it would be really fun to have kind of we're gonna have our elephant kind of be floating in our card, and I just cut off this little top part as well. So I'm just trimming, curving out the little edges of the white space for our little elephant. And then I'm going to grab out our little baker's twine. I'm using the twine that comes in the Nature's Twine package, and this comes with the 4 different colors: the mint macaron, the grapefruit grove, I believe this is crumb cake. Yep, crumb cake, and blackberry bliss. So this is a pack of 4 that comes in this, and so I love that they give so many choices with it. And then I'm going to look up how much it is too, since I have my catalog right close by. The pack of 4 is $9, and it comes with 5 yards per spool. So that is quite a bit for the $9. So it's a great amount for your money there. So what I'm gonna do is I have put the baker's twine inside of our little elephant. So I'm gonna cut just enough to put in the back of our little layer here, but also enough that I can put it inside of our little elephant as well, and so that he can be a flippy elephant. So I'm going to put that there. Whoopsie daisy. And then get out my normal kitchen tape to put on the inside here to hold our baker's twine down. So that's going to hold inside there, and so I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to use our snail adhesive just to put down to close up our little elephant buddy, and so that folds right perfect right there. And so now we can put our little flower on our pretty little girl elephant, and I think she came out so cute. Okay, so now we can put our sentiment on this cute little cutout. It is from our Layering Circles framelits, and actually I think it's that little piece right here, but the Layering Circles are my most used framelits. They are an amazing investment. I use them on almost, I would say, half easy. I use my punches that I have. I only have a couple of circle punches because of how often I use my framelits. I can cut out a bunch of those framelits and just have them on hand. And so they have been very well loved. So I recommend them to anyone who needs a good set of circle framelit sizes. There's so many choices, both with the scallops and with just the straight edge. So this stamp says, "A great big welcome for a sweet little someone." So I'm just going to ink that up with my Memento Tuxedo Black and put that down as close to the middle as I can. And that came out just perfect. So I knew it was going to be close for that stamp set fitting on there. I'm just going to use my Simply Chamois to clean my stamp there. Since I have it ready on the side, it just is damp with some water. And I just rinse it out. And I think I've run soap through it one time before, but it has been one of my favorite ways to clean my stamps since I got it. So I'm going to put a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on this little scalloped circle for when I put this card together here. I'm going to set my ink aside, and put this aside for a second. And we are going to finish building this baby card. So I am going to put this little piece of the Designer Series paper in the bottom corner of the inside of my card. I think 2 out of the 3 of my cards tonight have something to do on the inside, so that is good. I do not always remember to do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So what we are going to do to build this card, we're going to do the top part here. We're going to add our layers, and then we will add our little elephant on here as well. So we leave just a little bit of a border of the flower or the petal embossing folder down at the bottom that you can see there. And then the cool thing about this card that I was not sure how it was going to work exactly, but with our vellum, there's not a ton of adhesives that you can use on the vellum that you can't see it. And so this, since the elephant is on the top of it, you can't really tell. And you can see a little bit of the, let me see if I can put it up high enough that you guys can see. You can kind of see in the little flowers there when I move it, but it's not super noticeable unless you're looking for it. So what I'm using tonight is the snail adhesive just to put on, and I'm actually going to put it directly on the dark spots of these flowers of where I'm wanting to place it at. And then it just looks kind of like it's a part of those flowers instead of it being looking more noticeable because of the placement. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the elephant where I'd like her to be, and then I'm pulling the string tight on the top of the card and holding it back here with my fingers. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my kitchen tape between the layers here, and then I will go over all of the edges with my snail adhesive. Because it is an embossed layer, it's best for it if you use the adhesive on all 4 sides. And I will probably do some on the middle as well, where our baker's twine is being held down. I'll probably do it right there, just to make sure that layer holds down. Because we have so many extra elements to it, we want it to hold pretty tight on there. So that is just being added to the front of our card, and then our little floating elephant will sit right there. And then for the last little bit, all we need to do is add our sentiment on the top. So I took off the backings of those dimensionals, and then our little sentiment is going to go right there in that top corner. So that is card number 2, or it is the second card that I made technically, but it is card number 1 for tonight. So that is the one that I worked on a couple weeks ago, and then this is the card that we just did tonight. So there is number 1. So I'll set that one aside. The next card is actually one that I learned how to make from Rhonda Wade in creating Be Creative, or Creating Creative Success with Rhonda Wade. And this is a fun fold card that I made while I was watching her one day. I think she made these like a couple weeks ago, but this was probably one of my favorite ones that she has made. And she has seriously taught me so many different things with fun folds that I would have never thought of on my own. So I'm so thankful for our stamping community, that we can inspire each other in creativity, to share what we love with other people, and that even if we're not on the same team, we can still have these moments with each other. And so I'm very thankful, not just for my Pink Stamper family, but also that we can have these communities with other people that just love to do the same thing that we do. So I'm sipping another drink really fast. And what I need to do with this one is I have not yet cut the fun fold part of this card. This is a 12 by 5 1/4 card size. So you will take a layer of the designer series paper of your choice, and the reason I chose this one is because of the thickness. But what you do is you cut it at 12 by 5 1/4, and you take your scoring blade and you score it at 8 and at 4. And so your folds are going to happen on the 8 and the 4. And that what we're going to do with our card base is we are going to layer it on top of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card layout, or a card base. And this is just a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of rich razzleberry, which is the color that is shown in this designer series paper. And it's actually the colors that are used in this inside part too, which is why I chose that as my base. But what we're going to do is, for our fun fold, we are going to take our paper trimmer, and I need to grab it quick. I have a few things sitting on the table behind me, but because I have not done this in 2 weeks, I'm going to try really hard not to ruin it based off of this one little part here. So what she did is she took it and she put the corners, so it's going to be like this, and we're going to fold it this way, and this is going to have half of it cut off. So if you can see in our card here, we are going to trim off the corner. So if I'm looking at it, then I would want to cut from corner to corner so that this, let me see, I want to cut it from here to here, because we're going to fold it and it's going to be a pocket. That's what's going to happen. So I almost cut it the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my corner meet up with my blade up here, and I'm going to have the other one meet up with, there's a little ridge in our cutting thing here, in our trimmer, that you can kind of see where it lines up from corner to corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim off that corner, and now a miracle has happened because I did it right the first time. So what we're going to do is we're going to put adhesive on this bottom part right here so that it creates a pocket inside of our card that we can put a gift card or a little note in. And that is all we need our trimmer for. So what we're going to do really fast, since we're creating this one, is I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive just in that bottom corner and match that up with the bottom there. And then we have a little bit of a pocket right here to slide a little note in. And that part of the card is done. So it's super easy to get that little part trimmed off there, and then we can use this for just a piece of scratch paper in a different card. There's enough of it that we could get a circle out of if we wanted to use that for part of a card. But this card is super, super simple. So what we're going to do for our ink inside today is I'm going to use the Tranquil Tide, and I'm going to set this part aside while I find my little block here. We're going to use the little grass part here, as well as the sentiment, how beautiful a day can be when kindness touches it. So what we're going to use this grass part for is, and we're actually going to stamp off. So we're going to do a little bit of stamping off with this. So I'm going to get out my Stampin' piercing mat, over here, and we are going to, did I use the grass? Yeah. So I used the grass on both of the circle that we used for the sentiment, as well as the inside of the card. So I am going to take my Tranquil Tide ink pad and open that up here. And I'm going to set these two pieces aside so they don't get all inky. And we are going to use my scratch paper here and stamp off so that we are making our little grassy area a little bit lighter. And so my stamp has a little bit of a, let me see if I can get it right. So I'm going to put it on there. You have to stamp it really hard in that center or you get kind of gaps in it. So if you can see my little mistakes there, I did not use my Stamparatus to do this card, and so not everybody has it. And so I thought that I would show that you don't need it. So I'm going to set this aside because I want to put the sentiment over the top of that grassy area. So I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp along the bottom of this card. And actually, I think that when I was making my first card of this one down here, I do not think that I had my piercing mat out to use at all. And so that extra layer of cushion makes all the difference when it comes to getting a clear stamped image with our photopolymer stamps. It just, it is not perfect every time. I'm not going to say that it is, because I think I've still had mistakes made, but it does make a huge difference. And the fact that we have that available for those of us who really enjoy the photopolymer stamps, being able to have that little extra cushion is so helpful. So that is what I did on the bottom part, and then I added a few of the little tiny butterflies that look like they only have that one. They kind of look like one of their wings is missing, but they just are in motion a little bit more than the other ones. So I am not using the stamped off part from these butterflies. I'm just stamping them directly on after inking them up, and then I'm just twist a little bit and rubbing just to clean up that stamp as I go. And I'll put that one away so that I don't lose it. I have a feeling that I just need to be extra careful with that. So this stamp, we're gonna do a little bit of sponging on that layer before we're finished. So we're gonna put our little sentiment on here, and I'm gonna ink that up real good. Excuse me. You can always tell when I had a nap because I wake up a little bit more groggy, and this week has been super long, so I was very thankful for my Sunday nap today. My hubby actually got to take one too, so I just did that straight ink on that layer there. So that is with the Tranquil Tide, and the branches behind it, the little weeds there, are like a stamped off, so it's like a second generation stamp. So we are going to leave our ink out just for one little bit, and I'm going to find I think I have my little sponge over there. It's not too far away, hard to find, but I'm doing a little bit of sponging. Hi, Brianna, nice to have you. We are just working on this fun fold card right here. So I'm going to do a little bit of sponging around the edge of that layer before we put it in our card there. So I'm going to set that aside, find my little sponge, and this part I'll try to do standing up and be a little bit closer. I'm sorry if I'm shaking you all over the place. I just use I have a little punch, and I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden, but it came out last year, I believe, with the when the planner first was released. last year's planter, and I use a little bit of cardstock that matches the ink so that I can tell which ink goes with what sponge. And so I'm just taking my edges and just really lightly going over around the edges, just to give a little bit more of that dark Tranquil Tide color. It's nothing fancy, but it adds a different depth to the card. So that's all I'm gonna do to it. So then it is ready to go inside of our card there. So we are just about done with this one. So I'm going to set my sponge aside and close up my ink so that I don't get too inky. And we will put the rest of our card base together here. What we are going to do first, since we have our fold all done, we are going to take our snail adhesive. I'm going to try to get my head out of the frame so you don't have to see the top of my head. And I'm going to do all four sides and then one across the middle as well. And we are going to put it right in the center of our 5.5 by 4 1/4 layer base. And that has a little pretty border around the edge, just big enough that is viewable. And so then we're going to do this one on the inside. And I left it so that I could just write a small little note on the inside corner, but I wanted it to have enough of a border around that you could still see that pretty Designer Series paper. I just think it's beautiful. It's so, it goes together so well. And I pulled the Tranquil Tide out of these little flowers right here. That's how I chose those colors there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to add this little sentiment, and I used our Layering Circles framelits for the scalloped circle here, but I used our 2 1/4, I'm almost positive I did, yep. So I used our 2 1/4 circle punch for the sentiment part. Because I liked the bigger border around the sentiment, so that's how I chose that there. And I wanted to soften up just to give another layer to our card here when I did that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere down our sentiment first. This is another tip with the vellum there. So I have my vellum holding it down with my hands right where I want it to be, and I'm going to put my sentiment on first before I put that other layer down. So I'm going to put my sentiment right here so it's on the vellum right where I want it to be. And so now when I'm adhering my vellum, I know exactly where I want my adhesive to go so that it cannot be seen around it. So that's just a little tip with putting adhesive on the back of your vellum if you do not want to be able to see your adhesive through it, because vellum is super tricky like that. And this way kind of gives us a little bit of a cheat. So this is our second card for tonight. That's just a really simple, quick, fun fold card. And so that is card number 2. So we have done 2 cards. So I'm just going to put my stamp from that card away, and we will move on to probably the one I'm the most excited about sharing tonight. It's more of a 2 to 3 step stamping stamp set. And this is one that came to my house on Monday. This Abstract Impressions stamp set is probably one of my favorite stamp sets in the whole new catalog. And this card that I'm going to share tonight is not even using the framelits that go along with it. It is just the stamps alone. And so it is also using the 3 new ink colors that I got with my package on Monday. So it was a very good mail day. And so I just loved how these colors went together. And I'm going to show that you don't need hardly anything to make a big impact on a card. So I used 3 ink pads. I used the Poppy Parade, which is this color here. Now that is also what color our base is. This is the only color that I used on these roses. And what I did was I stamped off to get a lighter image, just like I did with the grass in this last card, the grass in the background. So you stamp off when you do the base layer, you stamp off 2 different times, and then you get a light color. Now the next time you only stamp it off once, and then you get the next color. And so the top color of the rose is the full strength color. And so you can get so much, so many different colors out of just one ink pad. So that is one of my favorite things about this card. So we will work on this one now, and we will start with this is using the Poppy Parade, the Granny Apple Green color, that's this one. And then the last color, these are the 3 new colors that I got from our new color family. And all 3 of these just happen to be new from our Brights collection. So if you were interested in joining my team and you were looking into which color family you would like to choose to get those 10 free ink pads with the promotion going on right now, all 3 of these are in the Brights collection. So it is one of the best collections as a whole. Hi, Haley. So we are going to work on this card here, and this is our 3rd card for the night. So I'm super excited about sharing this one with you guys. It doesn't use any of our black ink. It's just with the color, these 3 colors here. So I have my base all cut out, and I also am going to show you something really cool with our sentiment too, because I used kind of a reverse with it, using the colored cardstock on top, and then the white circle has a little bit of ink from the Coastal Cabana on it, but you can still see a little bit of the white there. But I did a reverse with that kind. So this is the layer that we're going to work with, and I'm going to pull out our scrapbook or our scrap paper to use this, and we will do our roses first using the Poppy Parade, and we are going to create this background. So this background is something that I would do on a card like the one that we're making, but I would also use it if I wanted to create my own scrapbook layout background. It's a beautiful color combo that can be used for so many different things. I would use it as backgrounds for note cards. So I'm just opening up our ink, the new inks, if you can remember. I think I've shown it a couple times. You just open like a makeup compact, and then you slide that forward there. So they're super easy. I love the new inks because they have a defoamer in them. So a while back they changed our ink pads so that they have the foam instead of the, oh goodness, what, felt. So they have foam ink pads instead of the felt pads. And because we're using photopolymer, I'm going to grab my piercing mat again. I didn't realize that I had forgotten. So we're going to use the foam pad as just the extra cushion there. So, but what they did when they redid the ink pads from the felt to the foam is they have not quite figured out the formula exactly. And so when they fixed our ink pads and created the new formula, they put a defoamer in them. And that defoamer is amazing. I am so a fan of these new ink pads. And so what you see me doing right now for my third base, for my third layer, is I have stamp it off once, stamp it off twice, and then you stamp the third stamp on your card layout or your card base. So this is 3-step stamping. So 1, 2, and then 3. So you don't get the same exact image every time. And that is one of the things that I love about it. Oh, third generation. Yep. I just explained it as you were asking, probably. That's what that always means, huh? Happens every time. So I stamp off, and then on there. So I'm going to fill in a couple of the little areas here in the corners just so that it doesn't look like it's trapped. Oh, and I only did that once. So you see the difference. So these are stamped off 3. This is the 3rd time, and this is only the 2nd time because I only stamped it off once. So we'll see that little difference when I'm putting the other layers on the card. You'll see that you can't see it quite as good on that second stamped off because I forgot and I only did it once. So it's not big enough for me to want to start over. I'm going to tell you that right now. There is not enough time in the world for that. So now I'm going to take my Simply Chamois and I'm just going to clean my stamps. Again, it's just a little bit of damp water on there, and it's meant to stain it. It's not going to hurt it. So I'm going to switch to the next layer of this flower. So I'm going to put this one away because these photopolymer stamps, I'm telling you, they get lost if they don't go back immediately, especially the tiny, tiny little pieces. I would probably find the rose, but there's just something about the photopolymer that they just have legs sometimes. So because this is the 2nd generation that we're going to put on now, we're going to stamp it off one time, and then we're going to stamp it on the next. See, that's the same exact color. So we'll be able to see the 3rd or the 1st generation on that one. But so we stamp it off once and on the next one. So you can kind of see the difference in those 2 flowers, specifically what the change is. So that one in the corner at the top here, over there, I forgot to do my stamp off the 2nd time, and so both of those are the same shade. So this one, the lighter one, is a 3rd generation stamp, and the 2nd one is the 2nd generation stamp. So that's what we're working on for these layers of the roses. It is such a fun tone on tone. So this just shows how many different colors you can get from one ink pad. Because this is the Poppy Parade, and we're going to use the same ink pad on all of those roses. It's the same. So I'm just going through, stamping off one time, and then stamping on my roses. There's no specific angle that I'm using. I'm moving my cardstock around a little bit. There's no exact way to do it. So that is our, oh, one more here. That is our 2nd layer of the roses, and I'm going to clean off this stamp here, just with my chamois here. And then my block kind of got a little bit messy too, so we took care of that. And then we are going to pull out our last layer on our little rose here. So we are going to put that one back on, and then we are going to use the top layer of our rose here. And we're just gonna, this one, we are not gonna stamp off. So this is the top layer, so this is the 1st generation stamping. So we're just gonna stamp that directly on. So you can definitely see that you get the 3 different shades with that rose for sure. So we're gonna stamp that one. And 1st generation stamping is what's used the most often. But I will tell you that 2-step stamping and 3-step stamping is one of the things that I was taught how to do when I first was introduced to Stampin' Up! When I was in college. And that was all the way back in like 2002, 2003, because I started stamping right after I got married in 2002. And so this was one of my favorite ways to stamp, was the 2-step and 3-step stamping. So that is only with one ink pad, with the Poppy Parade ink pad. I'm going to get my ink all over my fingers. So that is one ink pad for all of those flowers. So that is one of my favorite things about this type of card. So we're going to close that one up because we are done with the Poppy Parade for this card. And I'm going to clean up my stamp with my Simply Chamois here. It makes a little bit of a squeaky sound. This thing kind of reminds me of a cloth that I had from Norwex one time, except it's thicker. That they have a cloth that I have used before that feels similar to that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our little tiny flowers that are with the Coastal Cabana ink. So I'm going to put that stamp on there. And so this one is just going to be 2-step stamping because this one only has 2. Actually, it does have 3, doesn't it? I think I only used 1. Oh no, it is just a 2. It's a 2-step layer. So what we're going to do with this one is we're just going to stamp it off once. So I'm going to flip our paper around because that red is so overwhelming. So we're inking up our first layer. We just stamp it off once, and I'm just going to find little pockets. Now I don't want to do like overkill with these little blue flowers because I want to be able to fill in quite a bit of that white space with leaves still. So we're just going to kind of do these a little bit more lightly. I wanted the roses to be kind of the star of the show in this card, and I feel like they deserve it. They're beautiful. So that is all we're going to do with our flowers as far as the Coastal Cabana goes. This Coastal Cabana ink is probably one of my favorite new colors that they brought back. With this new catalog release that happened in June, they not only did they bring do a whole new ink revamp, they brought back some colors that were in colors years ago, some that I had actually already owned from when I started with Stampin' Up. They brought a couple of those colors back into the color family. But Coastal Cabana was one of those. So it used to be an in color, and now they brought it back for to go in our Brights collection. So this layer is just the first generation. It does not take any stamping off, and we are just adding that directly to our flowers right there. So that is all we're going to do with that Coastal Cabana ink. And now we are going to fill in a lot of that white space with leaves. And the leaves also are a 2-step Stampin'. So this card goes fairly quickly with how many different layers it is. It really doesn't take a ton of time. And if I were going to mass produce this card, I would probably do all of the first layer of the color first for all of the cards, and then build up from that point. And so that just is a suggestion if you were thinking about mass producing a card that has 1 or 2 or 3-step stamping technique on it, that if you did all of the first layer of the ink and then built it up, it'll save you a lot of switching as far as the stamps go. So we're going to open up our Granny Apple Green and start building our leaves out. So we're going to stamp off and then bring in our little little green leaves around. Oops, I so almost forgot. It happened a couple times on my first card that I made. So know that it's possible. You can forget. You can forget to stamp off. It happens all the time. So we are just taking our little leaf, stamping off, and bringing in, we'll stamp it right there, just to bring that green in to that white space. So that kind of fills it in where I wanted it. So I'm going to take my Simply Chamois and clean my ink off of that layer. And now we just have that tiny little layer to go. So because this one has the 2 layers, I'm going to set that part down, find the second part in my package there. So this one is the first generation, so we do not have to stamp off anymore. And so we are just going to find those leaves and use our ink to go in all those little gaps there. So some of them you'll be able to see better than others. I'm sorry if I'm moving quickly. It's kind of a habit where you just kind of follow it and flip it however you are needing. And this one does not have to be perfect. You don't have to have the placement down exactly. They are totally designed to be abstract, and they're very, very forgiving, I have noticed. So that, I think we have gotten all of our little inked up flowers and leaves. Oh my goodness, I am bumping all over you today. That poor camera has gone through it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out, I'm going to show you a sneaky trick as far as when I'm building layers on my cards, and I have a full layer that I'm going to do as a base. So I'm going to show you with building. So we're going to use this Granny Apple Green really fast for the last part. But if you can tell on this, you see that I stamped on the Granny Apple Green layer, and that is actually the layer that we have in our window here for the card. So what I do is I'm putting my stamp on my clear block, I'm inking it up in that Granny Apple Green color, and I'm going to literally stamp it almost in the middle of this green layer that we're going to use. We're still going to use it as our background. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our Starburst punch, I'm going to open up our punch, and I'm going to put our punch into there, and I'm going to hold it down, and we have punched out our sentiment out of the center of our layer that we are going to use as our border around this, because we can totally use that cardstock and it is not going to be wasted. Nobody will ever even know that we used the center of that because this layer covers it. And so we still have our border, and we still got to use that back part in the middle for our sentiment. So it's a sneaky thing, and I don't always remember to do it. But this is the perfect opportunity to share that with you. So what we're going to do on this circle, oh, thanks for coming, Haley. You can totally catch the replay and watch the other cards if you'd like to. Thanks for coming. So what I'm going to do with this circle is I'm just going to drag it really softly straight on my ink pad. Now what's going to do is it's going to put straight ink on there, so be careful not to touch it with your fingers right away, because you will get fingerprints it will get all over you. And I can tell you that from experience. But I kind of wanted it to not look perfect for that. And just to give a little bit. So I'm going to let that dry just a little bit before I adhere those two together. And then I'm going to pull out the polka dotted. This is the Whisper White color, I believe. Yep. Of the polka dotted ribbon or tulle ribbon that we are going to use on our card there. So we're going to put it on the white base. So that is going to go right here, and we can do that while that part's drying. So we're going to cut it at just a little bit longer than the card layout or base itself. And then we're going to use our kitchen tape to adhere it to the back. And then we will start adding our layers together. And we are just about done with all three of these cards here. So I'm so glad it worked out for us to do all three of them, because my little one, I know he's not asleep yet out there, and he's been playing really, really nicely. Now, he's not super little. He's 8.5. But when your big siblings are not here to help entertain you, sometimes you seem a lot more little than you are. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our snail adhesive to the back of that layer, and we are going to add it onto our Granny Apple Green. Now, I did it on purpose to have a little bit wider of a border because I think that it helps that color stand out a lot better on there. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put it directly on that Poppy Parade base layer. And let me just tell you that that color is my new favorite red. I think it is gorgeous, and I'm so excited that they brought it back. That Poppy Parade also used to be in an in color. So these in colors, even though they're only with us a short time, they make such a lasting impression on us that they often will bring them back when they do color revamps and stuff. So that is how that base is going to be adhered there. And so then what we're going to do with the green is we're going to put Stampin' Dimensionals, because I want that little white border to show around the edge there. So we are going to put those Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of our Granny Apple Green. Peel the backing off there. And we'll put that right on our circle layered. That's a Whisper White, and then we just rubbed our circle in the Coastal Cabana ink. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add a little bit of adhesive on the back of that, and we're going to put our sentiment right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of more of the tulle, and we're going to just tie a knot bow, because that's how I roll. And we're going to slip it under there, and we're going to put it real close to our sentiment, because I think it looks really cute next to it. So I'm just going to pull it through. If I can get it, it's kind of sticking. And we're just going to put our little knot bow right here. Super cute. I'll probably spin it just a little bit. So there's nothing fancy to this card except for the stamping work itself. So I'm just going to trim at an angle on both of these. And that is our cute little card. So that is card number 3. Hi, Julianne. You're catching me just at the end. So here are the 3 cards that we worked on tonight. So we did the Kindness Changes Everything, and how beautiful a day can be when kindness touches it, our fun fold card there. And then we also made this baby card that has the cute little floating elephant there for a baby girl card. So those are the projects that we worked on tonight, and I'm so glad that it worked out for me to be on tonight. So as far as I know, I'm going to try really hard to have a few more projects to do with you guys next Sunday. I will also try to post pictures of these on my blog tonight, and then hopefully load the video on YouTube with the items that I used for these cards as well. I'll try to also put them in a blog post. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to try, but life has been crazy busy, so it's kind of a hit or miss as far as when things happen. But it was super fun chatting with you guys tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed the projects that I worked on tonight. And if you enjoyed this, you can totally share it with your friends if they are looking for different inspiration. That is totally fine with me. I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow night on Sharon's The Praying Stamper. Hopefully I can catch it tomorrow. It might just be in my ear while something else is going on or making dinner or something, but I love my time with you guys, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me. Thanks for coming, to those of you who are watching the replay as well. I just love sharing what I love with you guys. So I hope you all have a great night and a great week. Those of you who are not in the same time zone as me, you could also have a good day if you're just starting your day. So I will see you all next time. Have a good one.